We were 5 friends camping in the forest. Only I came out alive. I still don't know if I should be telling this. I've written it out maybe 4 times already, then deleted it because it just sounds insane. But something about these last few nights, I keep waking up at 3:17 a.m. on the dot. Cold sweats, that scream still echoing in my head. It's been 8 months, no arrests, no answers, no bodies, just me. And the thing is, people think I did it. The cops, their parents, hell, I think I might have too if the roles were reversed. But I didn't. I swear to God, I didn't. We just wanted one last trip together before adulthood swallowed us up. 5 of us, me, Dylan, Bryce, Kayla and Morgan. We'd been best friends since middle school, that weird, messy kind of bond where you know each other's deepest secrets and dumbest childhood injuries. Dylan had just gotten dumped, Kayla was starting med school in the fall, Morgan was between jobs, and Bryce, he was Bryce. Always high, always laughing. We picked a remote trail in the North Cascades, near Hidden Lake, far past the ranger stations, deep enough that no one would be within miles. A place you only reach if you really want to. Dylan mapped it out on all trails, obsessing over it for weeks. He even bought this massive tent from REI, a 6-person monstrosity that weighed a ton. We joked he was compensating for the breakup. We left on a Thursday morning. Morgan's Subaru was stuffed with gear from Costco and Walmart. Yeti cooler, Jetboil stove, way too many Cliff bars. Bryce brought 2 disposable film cameras and like $200 worth of snacks. I had a topo map, a compass, and an emergency beacon I rented off Amazon. None of us had cell service even halfway up the access road. We were on our own. The first night was perfect. Like, seriously perfect. We drank warm beers under the stars and listened to Morgan's Bluetooth speaker until the battery died. There was this weird quiet you only get in places that far out. No traffic, no hum of electricity, just wind and trees. I remember thinking, we need to do this every year. Second day, we hiked 6 miles deeper, found a flat ridge above the tree line. Beautiful view of Mount Baker in the distance. It felt like a hidden world. We set up camp around 6 p.m, made chili, and passed around a joint. I caught Dylan just staring out into the trees for a long time. I asked him if he was okay, and he kinda shook his head like he forgot where he was. Said, "Yeah, just thought I saw something down there." That was the first red flag. We laughed it off, probably a deer or marmot. But he seemed weirdly shaken, not scared exactly, more like confused. That night, the wind picked up hard. I had to zip up the fly at like 2 a.m. because the tent was flapping like crazy. I remember hearing footsteps around the camp then, light ones, like someone walking barefoot on pine needles. Thought it was just one of the others going to pee. But when I unzipped my sleeping bag and peeked out, all 4 of them were in their bags, out cold. I didn't sleep the rest of the night, just lay there staring at the nylon wall, listening to the wind die down and the occasional crunch. Way too slow to be an animal. The next morning, Morgan found something by the tree line. A sock. A nasty, crusted black sock. Not ours. Kayla joked maybe some hiker lost it. But Morgan picked it up with a stick and said, "It's wet." And it hadn't rained. That's when I noticed the other thing. My knife was missing. A simple black Gerber blade I kept clipped to the outside of my pack. Gone. I asked everyone if they'd moved it. No one had. I laughed it off like, probably dropped it. But my hands wouldn't stop shaking. Dylan wanted to leave that day, said he had a bad vibe. But Bryce pushed back. Dude, we just got here. Probably just a raccoon. So we stayed. That night we made a fire, sat close. No music, no talking. Just the crackling and the occasional cough. We were all on edge, even if no one wanted to say it. At some point, Kayla said, "Did anyone else hear laughing last night?" No one responded at first. Then Dylan said, "I heard it too. Low, far off, like a single chuckle. I swear the wind stopped then. That night, that goddamn night, I heard it again. The footsteps. Only this time they circled the tent. Slowly. I held my breath for what felt like an hour. My flashlight was in my bag, but I didn't dare move. I could hear Morgan's breathing change. He was awake too. Then something pressed against the tent wall, just for a second, right by my head. Not a hand, not a face. A knife, long, serrated, pressed so gently I barely saw the nylon flecks. I didn't scream. I couldn't. I just lay there, frozen, while it slowly dragged downward 6 inches, then stopped. Silence. And then footsteps again, retreating. I waited until the sun came up before I moved. When we got out of the tent, there was nothing. No marks, no prints, just quiet trees swaying in the wind. But my missing knife, it was stabbed into the center of the campfire pit, handle up, and underneath it, scratched into the rock, were the words, "I like your laugh." No one spoke for a full minute. Just 5 people standing around a cold fire pit, staring at a knife stuck in the ground like a warning, like an invitation. I remember my heart pounding so hard it made my vision blur. Kayla finally broke the silence. "What the fuck is that supposed to mean?" Nobody answered her, because none of us knew. The blade was mine, there was no doubt. And the message beneath it looked like it had been scratched with a rock, or maybe even the tip of the knife itself, jagged, uneven, but deliberate. "I like your laugh." It was taunting, personal, targeted, and it scared the living shit out of me. Morgan was the first to start packing. No dramatic announcement, just grabbing his gear and jamming it into his Osprey pack like his hands were on fire. I looked at Dylan, expecting him to say something, but he was pale, just staring into the woods again, frozen, like he was trying to see something that was too far away. "We need to go," I said. "Right fucking now." Kayla shook her head, clutching her fleece around her, like it would protect her from whatever this was. "Are we just going to pretend someone didn't sneak into our sight in the middle of the night and watch us sleep?" "They didn't watch," Bryce said quietly. "They walked around. They knew we were all inside. They waited." That sentence did something to me, like it unlocked a door I didn't want open. This wasn't some hiker messing around. This wasn't some hermit who wandered too close. Whoever it was, they'd been here. They'd been planning this. "We have to go," I repeated. "Hike back to the trailhead, now. We can make it before dark if we haul ass." But then Dylan said, "No." His voice wasn't loud, but it was final. We all turned toward him, and I swear to God, I didn't even recognize his face for a second. Something was off. His eyes were darting, breathing shallow, like he was somewhere else. "No," he said again. "That's what they want." "What the hell are you talking about?" Morgan asked. Dylan pointed into the trees, still staring like he saw a shape we couldn't. "If we leave now, we'll get separated. You know how easy it is to get lost out here? One wrong step, one fall, and you're gone. You think this guy, whoever he is, hasn't thought about that?" I wanted to argue. I wanted to scream that this wasn't some movie. But deep down, he wasn't wrong. These forests are thick, endless. One snapped ankle, one missed turn, and you'd vanish into them like smoke. So we compromised. We'd stay one more night, but only if we took shifts keeping watch. No fire, no lights, no talking. Just wait out the dark, then hike at sunrise. We set up a rotation. Bryce, then Morgan, then me, then Dylan, then Kayla. 2 hours each. We moved the tent deeper into a thicket, trying to make ourselves harder to find, even though none of us said it out loud. The day passed like a long, slow panic attack. Every branch crack felt like a footstep. Every gust of wind made my stomach knot. We saw nothing, but I felt him. Watching, always just beyond the tree line, not hunting, waiting. By the time the sun dipped below the mountains, we were already inside the tent. Kayla was curled up with her hoodie over her head. Bryce kept fiddling with the safety whistle on his pack string. Dylan clutched the rental emergency beacon like it was a damn crucifix. First shift was Bryce. He took a camping chair and sat just outside the tent flap. We unzipped it enough so we could all still see him. Headlamp on, turned low, shining toward the trees. We tried to sleep. I think I must have drifted off at some point because the next thing I remember was Morgan shaking my shoulder hard. "Something's wrong," he whispered. I sat up, heart already hammering. The tent was cold and dead quiet. I looked over. Bryce's chair was empty. His headlamp was lying on the ground, still on, casting a dull glow upward like a theatre spotlight. "Where the fuck is he?" I hissed. Morgan unzipped the tent and ducked out, and I followed him. Kayla scrambled behind us, but Dylan didn't move. Just kept staring at the beam of the lamp like he was in a trance. We circled the site, called Bryce's name in low whispers. Nothing. Then, just when I was about to start screaming for him, I saw it. A shoe. Half buried in moss, 20 feet from camp. Not just any shoe. It was Bryce's hiking boot, laced tight, tongue sticking out like it had been ripped off his foot, still warm when I touched it. Morgan turned in a slow circle, his voice shaking. He wouldn't go off alone. He knows not to. Then we heard it. A sound that didn't belong in the forest. Not natural. Not wind. Laughter. Soft. Right at the edge of hearing. Like someone was chuckling into their own sleeve, trying not to wake us. Kayla gasped and backed into me. "That's not Bryce." No, it wasn't. Because I recognized the laugh. I'd heard it 2 nights ago. From out there. Dylan finally stepped out of the tent, walking like his legs were water. He didn't look at us. Didn't ask where Bryce was. Just stared off into the woods. Then he said, "He's playing with us." Dylan said it like he knew, like he'd met the guy already. "He's playing with us." No one said anything. I don't think we knew how. Kayla looked like she was going to cry. Morgan had this tight, locked-up expression like he was trying not to puke. And me, I just stared at the trees, trying to see past the wall of branches, hoping Bryce would come stumbling back into view, cursing and laughing like it was all some dumb prank. He didn't. I picked up the boot and turned it over in my hands. The sole was torn, ripped open right at the heel, not worn down or shredded by hiking, pulled apart, like someone had gripped the laces and just yanked until it snapped off. Kayla finally whispered, "We need to go now. We need to run." Morgan nodded fast, already reaching for his pack, but I could see his hands trembling, zippers snagged, straps fumbled. I knew exactly how he felt. It was like trying to think during a fire alarm. Your body's screaming move, but your brain's stuck on a loop. And Dylan, he didn't move at all. Just stood there watching the trees, arms limp at his sides, like he was waiting for him to come out. "Dylan, help us," I said, walking over, gripping his shoulder. "We need to get the hell out of here, man." He didn't look at me. He just said, "We should have never come here." That was the second time he said something like that. And the way he said it, like he knew something we didn't, it chilled me worse than the air. We packed in 15 minutes, maybe less, didn't even bother rolling the tent, just collapsed it and tied it off. Every second felt like we were being watched, timed, like someone was giving us a head start. The second we started moving, I knew we were in trouble. The forest looked different. The trail we came in on, marked with a strip of red duct tape, was gone. Trees we remembered passing didn't look the same. The terrain felt off. And then Morgan muttered, "Wait, weren't we uphill from the lake?" We all stopped. Because yeah, we were. But now, the sound of water was coming from above us. Kayla turned around and looked up the hill. "That doesn't make any sense," she said. "We came from that direction." Then, out of nowhere, a voice echoed through the trees, "You're going the wrong way." We froze. It wasn't shouted. It wasn't angry. It was calm, almost cheerful, like someone helping you find your keys in a parking lot. I spun in a full circle, eyes darting between trees. The voice had no source, just floated in the woods like mist. "Go back to camp. You're not ready yet." Morgan lost it. He bolted. No warning. Just turned and ran downhill, full sprint, branches whipping into him. "Morgan!" Kayla screamed. We all ran after him, no longer caring about the trail. We just knew we couldn't be alone. Not out here. Not with him. The forest blurred by. I lost sight of Dylan at some point, but Kayla was still behind me. We followed the crashing of Morgan's path through the underbrush, trying to catch up. But then, dead silence. We broke into a clearing, empty. No Morgan. Nothing but a pile of rocks stacked neatly in the center, and sitting on top, Bryce's other shoe, placed like a trophy. I remember Kayla just stopped, wouldn't move. She whispered, He's collecting her." We should have gone back. I know that sounds stupid, but whatever logic we had left was gone. We couldn't find the trail. The map was useless now. Our GPS? No signal. My emergency beacon? Still flashing, still sending out a call for help into nothing. But Dylan was the one who made the call. He found us again an hour later, just appeared through the trees, calm as hell. "We need to split up," he said. Kayla just laughed like she thought he was joking. "Are you out of your mind?" "She's picking us off because we're grouped," he said, calmly rolling his sleeves like we were talking about weather. If we separate, we're harder to track. I looked at him like he'd grown two heads. She? You said he before. Dylan blinked. I meant, yeah, doesn't matter. I didn't trust him anymore. Not after that. Not after what I saw later that night. We made the call to hunker down near a stream bed, someplace with open sight lines. Built a fire even though we knew it could attract attention. Kayla and I sat close, whispering about whether we should make a break for it once Dylan fell asleep. But then, he didn't sleep. He sat across from the fire, watching the woods like he was waiting for someone specific. His eyes didn't blink much. His hand never left the knife he'd taken from the fire pit. At one point, I caught him mumbling something, not loud enough to hear, but rhythmic, over and over. Kayla noticed too. What is he saying? She whispered to me, her mouth barely moving. I leaned in, listened hard. It took a minute to make sense of it. He was saying, don't laugh, don't laugh, don't laugh, don't laugh, don't laugh, don't laugh, don't laugh. He said it like a prayer, quiet, under his breath, over and over, like he was trying to hold something back, or like he was remembering something that scared him more than whatever was out in the woods. I wanted to shake him. I wanted to scream in his face and demand to know what he knew, but something told me not to. Not yet. Kayla and I didn't sleep that night. We sat shoulder to shoulder, backs against a boulder, the fire burning low, watching the trees twitch in the wind like they were alive. Every so often we'd hear something out there. Not footsteps, more subtle than that. Rustling, shifting. The kind of sound you only hear when someone's trying not to be heard. At one point I saw something flash between the trees. A flicker. A reflection. Like glass catching the light. But it was gone too fast. Around 4 a.m, Dylan stood up without a word, still whispering, "Don't laugh," to himself, still gripping the knife. He walked to the edge of the tree line, just far enough that the firelight barely touched him. Then he turned back to us and said, "She's waiting. She wants one of you to come talk to her." Kayla shot up. "Who the hell are you talking about?" Dylan tilted his head like he didn't understand the question. "You saw her too," he said. "That first night. The thing near the tent. You felt her." I wanted to run, but my legs wouldn't move, because part of me had felt something standing just outside the fabric, something so quiet, so completely still, it made me want to stop breathing. Kayla said what I couldn't. "There's no woman, Dylan. There's no she. You're losing it." But he only smiled. Not like someone who was happy, but like someone who was finally free. "She showed me the way," he said. "She taught me the way to stay alive." And then he walked into the forest, just disappeared between the trees, no flashlight, no hesitation. Gone. Kayla screamed after him, but I grabbed her and pulled her back. "No," I hissed. "That's what it wants, for us to follow." We didn't sleep at all. We waited for the sun like it was a lifeline. I counted every second, every movement in the shadows. At one point, I swear I heard someone whisper my name. Not shout, not call, just a single word. Jake. Carried on the wind like a secret. By morning, Dylan was still gone. And worse, the fire pit was full again, piled neatly with sticks, arranged exactly the way we'd done it the night before. Only this time the sticks weren't just wood, they were bones. Small, clean, some cracked in half. On top, laid across the pile like a gift, was a photo. A film photo. You could tell from the grain. It was of us, the 5 of us, sitting at the fire that first night. Me holding a beer, Bryce laughing, Kayla blurry in the background, Morgan mid-bite of his chili. Someone had taken that photo from the woods. Someone had been watching us from day one. Kayla broke down, fell to her knees, sobbing. I didn't blame her. Something about seeing that picture, proof, made all of it 10 times more real. This wasn't paranoia. This wasn't the forest playing tricks. This was a person. Someone who could move without a sound. Someone who could get close enough to take our photo and leave things at our camp without being seen. Someone who wanted us to know they were there. We left everything behind. No tent, no packs, not even water. Just grabbed our knives and the beacon and ran. We followed the sun, used the shadows to keep heading west, toward where we thought the access road was. We knew we weren't going to make it far. We were already dehydrated, starving. Every step was a gamble. Twisted ankles, loose rocks, dense brush. But we didn't care, we just had to get out. We'd been walking maybe 40 minutes when we found the campsite. Not ours, not anyone's I recognized. This one was old. Rotten canvas tents sagging with mold. Rusted cookware scattered in the grass. Burnt logs. A cooler full of bones. Human-sized. I thought maybe it was a ranger site, long abandoned. But then I saw it, nailed to a tree. Another photo. This one was faded, sun-bleached, torn along the edges. But I swear to God I recognized one of the people in it. It was Dylan, younger, maybe 12 or 13, standing in a group of kids around a fire, and behind them in the trees. There was a shape, a face, blurred by motion, barely visible, but smiling, too wide, too many teeth, and it was watching them the same way it watched us. I stared at that photo nailed to the tree until the edges of my vision went black. My mouth was dry, like painfully dry. I hadn't had water in almost a day, and I could feel the skin on my lips starting to crack. But that didn't matter. Nothing mattered anymore except that photo. It was Dylan. Younger, skinnier, but unmistakable. He was standing there with 4 other kids around a campfire, arms around each other like a summer camp photo. But that wasn't what chilled me. It was the background. Deep in the woods behind them, just barely visible through the gaps in the trees. That smile. Almost human. Almost. Teeth that looked too long, and eyes that seemed to catch the light in a way no human eyes should. I couldn't tell if it was a mask or a face or something in between. But whatever it was smiling at the kids like it had picked them out of a catalogue. I looked back at Kayla. She hadn't moved from where she was kneeling in the grass, hands clutched over her mouth. Her eyes weren't on the photo, they were on the cooler. That goddamn Coleman cooler sitting half sunk in the dirt, lid cracked open like an invitation. "Don't," I said, stepping toward her. "Kayla, don't look in there." She already had. I saw the moment she saw what was inside. She made this sound somewhere between a gasp and a choke, and turned away, falling onto her hands and knees and vomiting into the moss. I walked up slowly, not because I wanted to, but because I had to see. Some sick part of my brain had to confirm it. Inside the cooler, buried beneath what looked like old congealed blood and clumps of hair, were teeth. Dozens of them. Human, maybe. Some baby-sized, some not. Each one had been strung on fishing line, like trophies or charms, like something you'd hang to keep a spirit happy. We ran, didn't speak, just ran. Our bodies were failing. Kayla had twisted her ankle coming down the last ridge, but she pushed through the pain. I kept checking the emergency beacon, even though the red light kept blinking. No signal. We were far beyond anything resembling safety. And then we heard the whistle. 3 sharp notes coming from the trees to our left. High-pitched. Familiar. Kayla looked at me, wide-eyed. That's Morgan's whistle. It was. The one he always kept on his backpack strap. I remembered him blowing it to mess with Bryce on the first day. We froze. That sound. It wasn't far. Maybe 100 feet away through thick undergrowth. I looked at her, heart racing. It could be him. She shook her head violently. You saw that cooler. You saw the bones in the fire. Jake, Morgan's dead. Bryce is dead. Dylan's fucking gone. That's not Morgan. Then we heard it again. Only this time from the right side. Same notes, same pitch, same whistle. Like we were in the middle of a forest-sized speaker system. I grabbed Kayla's wrist. We can't stay here. Whoever this is, they're herding us. So we picked a direction, straight forward, downhill, away from both sounds. Blind panic, no plan, just escape. Branches tore at us. I lost my knife. Kayla slipped and hit her head on a root, but I pulled her up, half carrying her as we stumbled down a ravine. My arms were shaking, my legs were starting to give out. But adrenaline is a hell of a drug. Fear, even worse. We finally collapsed in a hollow beneath a fallen tree. I pressed the beacon button again and again like it was a panic switch, even though I knew nothing had changed. Kayla was crying now, silent and shaking. I held her. It was all I could do. That's when I heard the third whistle. Not a recording. Not from far away. This time it was right behind us. I turned slowly, and standing at the top of the hill we'd just come down, silhouetted between 2 massive pine trees, was Dylan, holding the whistle to his lips, staring down at us like we were strangers. No backpack, no flashlight, just his knife, and that same weird, far-off look in his eyes. I stood, blocking Kayla. Dylan, what the fuck are you doing? He didn't answer at first, then slowly he lifted one arm and pointed behind me. She likes you, he said softly. She picked you. That means you might get out. Kayla stood up, weak but furious. What the hell is going on? Who is she? What is this? Dylan smiled. But it wasn't really a smile. It was too wide, too forced, like he was trying to imitate someone else's expression. She was here before any of us, before trails, before rangers. She just waits. And sometimes, his eyes locked on mine. Sometimes, people help her. My blood went cold. You're helping her? He didn't deny it, he just stepped back into the trees and vanished, like he'd never been there. Kayla grabbed my arm. We need to move. Now. We didn't stop. Not until we saw the road. Actual blacktop. Cracked and faded, but real. A forgotten Forest Service road, maybe a few miles off the grid. We screamed, cried, hugged, we were going to live. But I still had that feeling. The feeling that we were being allowed to leave. Like it was part of the game. Like she got what she wanted. And the rest was just cleanup. And when I turned around one last time before we crossed the road, I saw something in the woods. A figure. Not Dylan. Someone taller, just standing, watching, not moving. And they smiled. Not because they were happy, but because I knew. Kayla and I stumbled out of the forest like survivors of a plane crash. Scraped up, filthy, half-starved. My shirt was shredded down one side and Kayla's ankle had ballooned into something purple and ugly. We limped along that cracked stretch of road for what felt like hours before we saw the truck. A dusty red Toyota Tacoma parked on the shoulder, the engine idling. I thought I was hallucinating. I ran up, waving my arms, screaming. I've never begged so hard in my life. The guy inside was an old hunter, maybe late 60s. Beard down to his chest, smelled like tobacco and jerky. He looked at us like we were ghosts and said, "Jesus Christ, where the hell do you come from?" We didn't give him the full story, just enough to get a ride. He drove us 40 miles to the nearest town, Concrete, Washington, dropped us at a gas station and told the cashier to call 911. They took us to the hospital first. Then came the cops. We told them everything. At least everything we thought we could say without sounding delusional. We gave names. Dylan, Bryce, Morgan. Described our gear, where we parked, what trailhead we used, even the exact GPS pin Dylan had dropped before we lost service. And you know what they found? Nothing. No tent. No campsite. No footprints. Not a trace of the others. No bones. No photos. No cooler. It was like the forest swallowed it all whole. The search lasted 2 weeks. They brought in dogs, helicopters, even a volunteer SAR team from Portland. The story made the news. Missing campers in North Cascades. Our faces were plastered on Instagram, local TV, Reddit threads filled with armchair theories. I was the only one who came back. Kayla gave one official interview, then stopped responding to everything. She moved back to Texas to live with her sister. Blocked my number. Can't say I blame her. Me? I moved to a different state. Changed my job. Started going by my middle name. The detectives checked in a few times, but after the trail went cold, they stopped calling. People think I'm guilty. I see it in the way they look at me when they recognize my face. Even the ones who don't say anything, they wonder. And I get it. If I were them, I'd think I did it too. But here's the truth. There's something in those woods. Something old. Something cruel. And it doesn't kill the way you'd expect. It doesn't lunge out of the dark or tear through tents. It waits. It watches. And then it changes you. I think it got to Dylan first. That photo, him as a kid, already there, already part of something, makes me wonder how long this has been going on. How many times it's happened. How many other hikers just never came back. And now I'm starting to think it marked me too. Because some nights I wake up around 3:17 a.m. like clockwork. And outside my apartment window, on the 3rd floor, I swear I see someone standing on the fire escape. Not moving, not knocking, just watching, waiting. And this morning, I found a photo slipped under my door. A photo of me and Kayla, the morning we were rescued, taken from the tree line. We didn't see anyone there, but someone saw us, and scrawled on the back, in that same jagged, uneven writing, "I still like your laugh."